What's up, guys? Master Whitfield, Coach Steve, Peak Performance. Look at this cool little thing we got up here. Peak Algorithm. So we originally started this series. It was going to be martial, art, both. And as we started doing this, it was getting harder and harder to put it in, put certain things into a box.
Things always become more complicated once you put them into practice, right?
Yeah, so we started going, so Coach came on and goes, hey, why don't we do an algorithm?
Which he said, no, that's a terrible idea.
So
he wanted to go back to his idea, and then we came back.
So as we started, all right, so we discussed it. What do we want it to look like, you know? And what the first part's going to look like, you wanted like a martial part, right?
Yeah, what the problem we were running into, or that I was running into just in my mind, was how do we define these things to begin with? Before I can tell you what I think one martial art falls into, what category, I have to be able to define that category, right? So I figured, okay, how do we do that? Art, fairly obvious, you know? And so what I think is, I would say it's martial if it works under resistance from somebody at least your own size and strength. That was the best definition I could come up with. You know, that's the minimum, right? Ideally, it should work on somebody larger than you, somebody faster, stronger, whatever.
And your background is jiu-jitsu, right?
Yes,
so
yeah,
for you, if it works on somebody at least your own weight,
then it's good, right?
Yeah.
But so I figured that's a good place to start. So we just have, we're gonna have these traits that a martial art should have if it's gonna fall into that category, and that's kind of what we wanted you guys' help with. So we're gonna come up with as many as we can think of, and we want you guys to comment and maybe add some that we forget, right? So the first thing, face punches, right?
And can I say this? We don't have anything written down.
Nothing.
We are literally right now going, we kind of went face punches, kind of head punch, but we didn't go any further than that.
We figured it'd be better to do it with you guys, right? In front of you guys. So, face punch?
Face punches. All right, so let's go.
So if it's going to be martial, right, if it's going to be work in a actual physical situation, you pretty much have to be able to punch to the face, I would say. Can we agree on that?
Sure. So
spelled punch with two N's, whatever, that's fine.
Yep.
That makes sense.
So there's our little box.
Cool.
Face punch. It needs to have a face punch.
Exactly.
All right.
I mean, otherwise, like we have arts where you can't do that, and that kind of really delegitimizes them as a fighting art, right?
Yes, because anytime we're getting down to it, most people on the street, they want to knock you out. They want the knockout blow, that huge hook to the head, the knockout. Mm-hmm. You even see it from really experienced fighters in MMA or boxing. They start headhunting because they love the power of hitting. Body shots, they're cool, but this is the lottery winner. You hit
even body shots are meant for getting eventually to the head, right?
So there's all these little things. So face punch, definitely. And how this is eventually going to work is we put this up. We put like a martial arts stop and go, do they have this? Mm-hmm. Do they have this?
And that's why I figured we would run. I think I'm using the word algorithm correctly. I really don't even really know what it means.
Can I digress from that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I'm pretty sure we don't know if we're using the word digress right half the time.
Sure.
So if something's wrong, guys, hook us up, put it in the comments.
Right.
All right.
We didn't do any kind of spell check or anything like that either. So
like I've got 3 N's up here. I don't. Right.
But no, I think face punch is great, right? Because,
yes.
And I also, another important thing to differentiate is between competition in these arts and street applicability of these arts, right? Because we have something like we were arguing about Taekwondo a little bit before the cameras went on.
And many other martial arts, by the way, Taekwondo.
Yeah, Taekwondo.
I have a master's in Taekwondo, so I'm not.
I think Taekwondo is awesome.
I'm not crapping up. We're not here actually to crap on anything.
No.
We're here
This is going to make people angry, just because our opinions. That's just the way it is. But we're not here to disrespect anyone or anything, right? That being said, Taekwondo does not allow you to punch to the face, right? So is that a fault of the art, or is it just for competition? Does that, you know what I'm saying?
And when we actually bring up, we actually bring Taekwondo really eventually beyond this list.
That's just the first thing I could think of to do.
Yeah, and that's what's going to end. When we actually talk, we'll get more in depth into all this, all right? So we got face punches, all right? We definitely want to have a face punch. How about everything? We're not putting body on here. Everybody goes to the body.
Right. And back to what I was saying real quick was like, even if we're looking at MMA, there's a lot of things in MMA that are illegal that work fantastic in a fight, right? If you look at all the illegal stuff in combat sports, that's kind of the good stuff, right? That's the stuff that works really well.
Because when we get into something like Kaju Kimbo, who does their fighting, it's pretty much, I think the only thing they don't allow, correct me if I'm wrong, are eye pokes.
Yeah.
maybe some hair pulls. I don't know,
And
but
eye pokes are not that effective.
But you
it's not that
can-
easy to poke a guy in the eye, right?
and so we can add all that stuff in there as well.
But let's digress again.
Yeah.
Are we digressing right now?
Did we? If we use that word wrong,
We're
let
gonna
us
go
know.
ahead and
Put it in the
digress.
comments below.
So I would say, how about leg kicks? That's something
All right.
that a lot of times that aren't
Sounds
in
good.
a lot of arts, right?
Leg.
Leg kicks are something that a lot of arts, I think, really ignored for a long time. You know, I think it's something that's been fairly recent in fighting, don't you?
Yeah. So leg kicking and different kinds of leg kicking. When we get into it, recently people always thought leg kicking it went here, it went here, it went here, and recently
Because
it's gotten lower.
For like 100
lower.
years it did, right?
It worked.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden one day, Ben Henderson came out in the UFC and said, "Hey." He started kicking this guy in the calf. People are going, he keeps missing. The commentators are going, he just keeps missing. He keeps missing. And now, a lot of people are kicking to the calf because what's happening is, have you ever had dead arm? You're pulling in jiu-jitsu. You're pulling. Not for even getting hit. You're pulling. All of a sudden, you can't make a fist anymore.
Yep.
This is the same thing that happens when you get calf kicked.
It's also incredibly hard to catch, right?
Yes.
Because it's so low.
If you get kicked here, there's nerves in here. Guess what these nerves are connected to? The foot. If you go back and watch the Sean O'Malley fight where he fought Chico oh my God, I'm sorry, his name is slipping my brain. But he was his last fight where he lost, Chico Vera. And Chico Vera kept kicking him calf. And all of a sudden, he kicked him one time, and Sean threw a kick, and he tried to put his foot down, and he sprung his ankle.
Why?
It wasn't because he sprung his ankle. His hand, his calf, the nerves in there made his foot dead.
So he essentially couldn't support his leg anymore.
And people were making excuses. Oh, he just sprung his ankle. That's why he sprung his ankle from the strikes. So the leg kicking has evolved, and when we get to other martial arts, we'll talk about how much that's evolved. All right.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Great addition to that.
So
I would think, unless you have
Go ahead.
something, I was going to say clinching.
Clinching, and for those of you who don't know what clinching is, Coach, go and explain that while I write that.
Clinching basically is when we're talking about range and distance. Obviously, there's a range where we're too far away from touching each other with strikes, right? There's a range where I can kick you. There's a range where I can punch you. There's a range where I can elbow you, and right around that elbow-knee kind of range, that close range, is where we're sort of, basically, clinching is, I would call it essentially wrestling on the feet, right? It's we're in close range. We're looking for position, and we're throwing dirty little strikes in between, right?
Yeah, so dirty boxing.
Clinking?
Yeah.
Is another way you can.
Yeah, so when we start going into, what is it? You're talking about the dirty boxing.
Muay Thai?
Dirty boxing.
MMA?
In boxing, that's actually illegal.
And why?
Because it
it's
works.
Awesome. Yes, because it works fantastically.
So,
Too good.
The dirty box.
Right. Which falls into the clinching category too, and if you want to add,
But I look at it as
elbows,
the
right?
clinching in wrestling is way different from clinching in the Muay Thai and the boxing. So that's why I kind of, when he said that, I went, you know what? Dirty boxing.
Yeah, because clinching can mean that's a big category, right?
Yeah, because dirty boxing is grabbing the back of the head, which is illegal in boxing,
right?
But not illegal in Muay Thai.
Right.
So as we start flowing down, you guys are going to start seeing a pattern like, I never thought of that. I never thought of that. So all these little things we're trying to throw into a category.
Yeah.
So we got dirty boxing. All right. Are you allowed to throw knees?
That's what I was going to say. Knees and elbows.
Knees and elbows.
Knees and elbows they're a game changer, right?
Yeah.
Because elbows cause cuts, right? A lot of elbows create really nasty looking fights because guys will get a cut open up on their forehead and they're bleeding all over the place, right? Knees are completely destructive. We've seen that in the UFC before, right?
Yes.
People getting just horrible things happening to them from knees, right?
Yes.
So they both work.
Yes. But once again, there's so many styles that do not allow these. And a lot of your traditional martial arts like karate, taekwondo, tong soo do, kuk soo, all those, they don't allow. And when you're sparring, we're talking about sparring, they teach them. But are you allowed to do them when you spar?
Right.
Which means that's where you're going to be most effective because you'll have the timing on the street.
I can learn it all day long.
Yes.
If I'm not sparring with it, if I'm not specifically training it in a live action situation, I'll never ever pull it off unless the person's asleep or something.
And the good thing about these knees and elbows, they're just as good on the ground. But the techniques are different on the ground.
Ground.
Yeah, so ground is...
Can we fight on the ground?
Let's fight on the ground. Let's start over here, shall we?
Sure. It's all chicken scratch to me.
As long as I can read it, I don't care what everybody else does. All right, we got ground. So,
can you go to the ground at all? Can you get the guy to the ground?
this is, once again,
What do you do if he takes you down? Right? You got a lot of problems there.
because we have wrestlers all the time who go super good on top, but we've had wrestlers, a lot of jiu-jitsu, and you've seen this a lot too. You put them on their back,
Yeah,
they freak out. We can talk about the Justin Gaethje fight and Habib fight that just happened. We're time stamping ourselves here because that fight just happened a couple weeks ago.
Right.
That fight, as soon as Justin hit his back, he was just like, but he's an incredible wrestler.
Yeah.
So just because you're good at one aspect of the grappling art doesn't mean it translates over to the other.
Yeah,
All right?
that's true.
So ground, and we can go deeper into the ground. All right.
Ground has its own subcategories, right?
Yeah.
Of striking, submissions, and things like
Yeah.
that. Control.
So we're going to talk about ground, and all these are going to be subcategories
and
for the
then,
ground.
really, before we even get to the ground, we have to talk about takedowns and takedown defense, right? Because there are arts like, say, like Muay Thai, a lot of people don't realize has fantastic takedowns.
Yes.
Right? Sanshou, amazing takedowns.
Yes.
Am I saying that right?
But
Sanshou?
once they get to, but think about Sanshou, the way they spar and fight, once they get to the ground, the ref stops it
Right.
and stands them back up. They get points for
Which
the takedown.
goes back to the what I was talking about earlier. With, are we talking about the art itself for a fight, or are we talking about the sport, right? Because those are two
Yes.
different things. The art itself, some of those Sanshou takedowns or the Muay Thai dumps, you drop the guy and you just soccer kick him in the head, right? You don't have to.
Yes.
You don't have to. And I think that's kind of what they assume when they stop it there, right?
Yes.
The-
And they just, because that's just, they got the take. They're probably assuming, just like judo, when you throw someone, you get an ippon, which is a full point
They're
of
hurt,
takedown.
right?
You hit them perfectly with the earth. They're unconscious anyway.
Which
There's
is
no
not
point in continuing.
that
the fight.
dissimilar from a Muay Thai takedown either.
Yes.
They're actually pretty close. So a lot of the foot sweeps and things that they do.
Yeah. So
They call them dumps. But
So we
they're
got takedowns. We'll put takedowns on here in a second. Ground. All right. So does the ground allow striking? So I got a nice little line here for a subcategory here. All right. So do they allow striking? All right. Do they allow? What's something else do they allow?
Fighting for top position.
Top position. And why is top position so important in a real fight?
Gravity. Think
So-
about it, you know?
Yeah, go ahead.
If I'm on bottom mount trying to punch up at somebody and they're just laughing at me, you know, using gravity to drop their fist down on my head, not to mention my head is up against the ground and theirs isn't, right?
Yeah.
My head has nowhere to go and it's getting pounded into the earth, right?
And people always go, hey, I can punch from the bottom. The problem is when I'm punching from the bottom, I'm just going to demonstrate. Watch where my elbows are going. What are they hitting?
The ground. There's no.
I
you
can't
have
go
no
back
windup.
any
Yeah.
further.
It's like you're doing a floor press.
Can I turn my hips?
Yeah, but
Look, not really. Look.
you can't drive off of the floor either.
Yes,
right?
so there's no drive. So the person who's on the bottom has everything above them to come down.
Now lay down again real quick.
Yeah.
The only exception to this, I would say, is the up kick, right? The up kick is powerful, right? And why? Why is that different?
Yes. So,
Why would you say the up kick falls? It's almost its own thing. Right?
yeah.
I hadn't really thought of it until now, but as far as like striking from the bottom, it's almost a joke, except for the up kick, which is serious. Up kicks knock people out.
And in the style we teach here, like it's we teach kind of a hybrid style of Tung Soo and some grappling with it. We teach an up kick here, like how to actually throw the up kick, get into position, because it is its own thing. Most people, when you hear kicking on the bottom, they do this.
What is it about the up kick that puts it in its own category like that?
We are hitting with one of the most powerful parts of the body, the heel. And a lot of people do this a lot when they point their toes and stuff like that. So it's the heel, it's the linear process. Everything is going in a straight line. Circular is great, but if I have, this is like a huge spear at the bottom, I can engage, when doing the up kick correctly, I engage my heel, my knee, my hip, my abs, my shoulders, my neck even, because if I do a high up kick, look, I am pushing everything. When you can engage multiple body parts in something,
And I would
we're
almost
talking
say,
power.
if you could lay down again,
Yeah.
could you just do it again in slow motion? Do a single leg up kick.
like from the foot on the
your
ground.
other foot? Exactly. Right.
But we start from the ground. This is a great push, but look at my range of motion.
Right.
All right. Now, if I really want the power,
'Cause
I'm
you're putting
coming
your whole
up.
body into it.
I'm
right?
getting my whole body. But this, if you come to our classes, this is a stable position because now I can move. I
But it
can't move
also-
with both feet off the
It
ground.
also is powerful because you have something to drive off of.
Yes.
You need a base to drive off of.
100%.
So
If they rush in,
the double one, you do have a base to drive off of. It's just it's more your upper back, right?
Yes.
And so it's it's almost like you're engaging more of your core with a double kick than you are with a single.
100%. I can. The more that's off the ground, I'm gauging 1 point now. So as I'm pushing up, like I said, I'm trying to engage everything. This particular kick right here, when my foot's on the ground, really I'm engaging my quad, my hamstring, the glutes,
some core
and a little bit of the hip, a little bit of the core, but I'm stuck to the ground.
But the double one, you're getting a full body extension.
And
right?
if you watch most of the knockouts in MMA, which is, that's what we have to go by because that's where the best fighters are right now, that's where all the knockouts happen.
Right.
The person comes down, and if you watch, their shoulders are the only thing on the ground. They're exploding like a snake into
Isn't
them.
that funny that almost all striking from bottom position is worthless, but you have this one move that happens to be really, really good. That's really dangerous, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is almost the subject of its own video.
And we could go into up kicks, and it seems like you couldn't, but we could show you some videos of up kicking, of good up kicking.
Oh, there's been so many
and
knockouts.
Bad up kicking.
So many knockouts from up kicks, right?
Yes.
All the time.
So the up kick, do they practice it? MMA, they practice this.
Right.
They'll take pads and just crush each other, practice your up kicking.
So there you go. There's another thing we can add. MMA, right? In MMA, they have the unique methodology of training things. They're not just training martial arts in a vacuum and then attempting to put them together on the spot.
Yes.
They're training in different martial arts and they're almost creating a different thing out of it, right? So like I know George St. Pierre is famous for doing what I think they call it shoot boxing or something like that.
Yeah, shoot boxing. He's like Kyokushin.
Well, no, but I'm talking about the way he trains. He'll do boxing with takedowns.
Yes.
Right?
Okay. Yes.
Which is like very much its own thing.
That's a Japanese style. The shoot box name is more of a
name. Yes.
Yeah, it's like a very. I'm just saying the name. If you never heard of that, that's a term raised by the Japanese.
Thing,
yeah.
I'm referring specifically to boxing with takedowns. Right there, that's something that no other art is doing. Right? Not in that way.
Yes.
Right? Boxing with specifically wrestling takedowns. Right?
Yes.
Being able to box your way into a double leg, single leg, things like that is very much its own thing, right?
Yes.
So kind of, it's almost become its own art now, right? The hybridization of those arts it's specific to the sport, right?
Yes.
Because MMA, again, is not a fight, right?
Yeah,
it's
so,
specific to the sport.
And now how much do they work on submissions? Subs, right?
Submissions. Basically making somebody say uncle.
Yeah, making somebody say I quit. Because there's a lot of styles that go like we can go like Aikido, right? Where the partner is very willing to give you a hand and help you out, and give you these Hapkido same way. There's a lot of styles. We're not talking about them at all.
I got one for you just based on that then. Sparring. What's the sparring like?
And when we get to the Aikido, we'll talk about that more, but I've done Aikido. I have a black belt in Hapkido. There's no sparring. Hapkido does have some, but it looks more like just regular striking. There is no, when we get into it, we'll show you the differences, but we have to have we have to have the criteria like, do you actually, I put my hand out, I just don't give you my hand and you take me down.
And some of these arts that we will be referring to in the future, like maybe some of the offshoots of Kung Fu and stuff like that, we're really going to see why they're going into the art category when it gets to that.
When we get to this, you'll be like, oh, okay, that's why we're doing this, guys.
Because I've seen, so-called grandmasters in Kung Fu agree to fight each other. They're putting their 10,000-0 record on the line.
And
they're
it's
gonna
just
fight this other
slap
master.
fighting.
It turns into the world's most ridiculous-looking boxing match, and it ends, usually the one I saw ended with the ground and pound from Mount, right? I don't see any Kung Fu. I didn't see any Chi. I didn't see anything.
You were like, all right, cool, we're going to see something.
Yeah. No fireballs, nothing.
It was crazy,
It was
man.
just MMA.
We digress.
It was really bad MMA, right?
We digress.
Yeah, we're digressing.
Sorry, we're digressing.
We're digressing all over you guys right now.
All right, so we did our subs. Let's hit some takedowns.
Yeah. And defending them.
See, that's
it's
a category.
fine if you don't want to do one, but you got to be able to stop it, right?
Because you start going, all right, takedowns. All right.
So, I think we're going to pause right here because we got a lot of stuff to chew on right now, right? We got a lot of things to digest here. I want to get into the takedown stuff, takedown defense and all that, but I feel like this video is running long and this is actually taking...
We want to give you guys...
Here's the thing.
We want you guys... We want to give you a part 2.
Yeah.
We're
eventually going to
so
run through every art that we can think of and tell you really what we think of it and running it through this sweet algorithm, which I hope we spelled right.
So, this is once again, this is what we got going on. If you guys have anything you want to put in the comments about because we're going to come back and, like I said, give you a part 2.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk more about the groundwork. And we have more categories to add here as well.
If you guys can think of anything else, please help us out. We appreciate it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, because it's just a couple people here, a couple of dudes here kind of like
Doing
figuring
our
it out.
best. Yeah.
But thank you guys so much. Part 2 coming out. Look for it. We'll see you then.
Top Gun?
Top Gun. Boom. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.